So this is episode 694 of the Two Dum Yinzers. I want to say to everybody this morning, welcome back. Finch is with us today. I love. I got to tell you, I love the lighting in your room. Everything looks
Thank
nice,
you.
man.
Thank you. Mike said the same thing. So did Tim the other day. So I'm glad that I'm getting positive response because I took a little time.
Yeah, no, it looks nice, man. It caught my eye right away. Speaking of the other night, Finch, you know what? I got to be honest. I haven't had a chance to catch the latest installment of the Two Cranky Jagoffs. I got to be honest. I'm excited. I can't wait to listen. But how did everything go for you guys? Because you guys usually do Friday night.
Yeah, we had to bump it back.
Sunday, so I didn't get an opportunity to listen yet. Did things go good for you guys?
Oh, yeah. It was a good show. We had fun. We ran it a little bit. We mostly kept the talk about the Super Bowl because we hadn't had a chance to discuss it together yet. And we had a pretty good time talking about the halftime show. And, we threw in some random bits and bobs there. So it was a good show. And if anybody missed it, please go back and watch it. Video on demand on YouTube. Two Cranky Jagoffs right here on Two Dum Yinzers.
Absolutely. I cannot wait. I got to tell you, Finch, I like the show a lot. I like what you and Tim do. And you guys are a perfect team over there. Doing a great job. Keep it up, man. And I will be probably checking it out later on today. Actually,
it was a good time, and it was our longest episode yet. We kind of went on for quite a while, and we had excellent board the other night. The usual suspects and a couple other people showed up, and it was a blast. We had a great time.
Good.
Lots of Neil O'Donnell talk got thrown in as well.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Neil O'Donnell, as far as the player or the
player, it started out as player talk, and then the Neil O'Donnell that comes onto this show showed up. So it's leaving me to believe that that's an alter ego.
Okay.
But he was jabbing on with Jen and Mark Malone. So it's neither of those guys unless they're running two devices at the same time. So
yeah,
Tim and I are like trying to figure it out. We're like, I wonder if this has to be like one of the regulars, moonlighting under a different username. But it worked out. We had a great time. And if you go back and watch it, we put the chat up on the screen as well, so you can follow it. And we had some pretty fun conversations. It was a good show.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. That's you know what, Mike and I often. I mean, occasionally we kind of question some things that happen on the show and just, have questions. And Neil O'Donnell, he was a bit of a surprise. He popped in on us out of nowhere, and then he became kind of a prominent name on the board there. So it's interesting. We're still trying to figure it out. At the end of the day, wouldn't you guys shit if it was actually really Neil O'Donnell?
As much shit as we talked on Neil the other night, and we talked to that guy as if he was the real Neil.
Yeah.
He might never come back if that's the case. So if it's not the real Neil, if it is the real Neil, that would be amazing because it's kind of cool to air 30 years worth of dirty laundry on someone.
Oh man,
it was a good time.
Now this is a can't miss. Now I mean. I was chomping at the bit to get to
we talked
Sunday
about
episode.
Super Bowl 30. We talked about how ugly Neil is. Tim told me he couldn't even watch football games when Neil O'Donnell played because he was so fucking ugly. I said, Tim, your dad's awesome.
Oh, that's great, man. Did your third wheel? Did he make it?
No, Ryan couldn't make it because of snow. Remember Sunday night? It was a nasty winter mix here, and I actually asked him not to come. I said, "Dude, I'm all set up and ready. If you want to come, great." I said, "But it's really bad out there. I do not want you to risk it." And he was like, "No, the show must go on."
I tell you what, I like to drive on onions, guys. I got to tell you, I just through the first 5 weeks. There's been times whenever the snow's gotten real bad or it's just, not an ideal situation. And Tim does find a way. He makes it over to the, to the studio and these guys get it done. Very, very excited and proud of what you guys are doing. Love having you guys on just on the team overall.
Yeah, we're having a good time.
Great stuff, man.
We have a few other thoughts, and we discussed a little bit on air the other night too about we're going to need to make some filler episodes soon because there's going to be a couple Fridays we're not going to be available.
Right.
And I'm taking a trip soon. Tim's also taking a trip eventually. So we're coming up with some ideas for filler. So anybody that's watching and says, hey, if anything you guys want to do that we're interested in, please tell us. Let us know, man. We'll try anything for a laugh.
Good morning, over enthusiastic mod Caleb. You know what? No. He asked, do you guys think that I was in a fake account? You know what? With the guys like Neil O'Donnell and Mark Malone, obviously, you question, you say, who is this? And there's way in the back of your head, you're like, oh, you know what? This can be Neil O'Donnell, joining from a cave somewhere in Tel Aviv.
But would he use his actual name?
Exactly.
That's the difference.
I just like you use that because that's the classic misdirect. You're like, oh, no one would use their real name.
That's true. I guess. I don't know. I don't think the real Neil is smart enough to do that.
Right. I mean, if he was Joe Samuelson, he would be safer going with his real name, because throwing the fake name out there, Neil O'Donnell, would obviously bring question, as it did. And so who knows? It sounds like a lot of fun. I cannot wait to get on and check out Sunday night, guys. Go on and check Two Cranky Jagoffs from Sunday night right here on the network, on right on the channel. Just go to the very last show that the guys did. Good stuff. I can't wait. Probably tonight. So looking forward to it. How you gentlemen doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm surviving the cold. I went to work this morning and it was 9 degrees outside.
Yep.
And I came home and it was still 9 degrees outside. That was some bullshit.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I'm doing great, man.
What a weird winter. It got warm there for a while, and now it's back to 9 degrees. And I just got a feeling this is going to be a hot summer. No relief. It just has that feel. But we will see, guys. Mike, I'm going to start with this today. The USA hockey team, they get the wait a minute, hold on, I have to take a time out here. Mark Malone just commented real quick here. O'Donnell was smart enough to take enough to win a retirement amount of money in the Super Bowl. Good morning to Mark Malone. You know what, I loved Neil O'Donnell until that moment. I really did, because in my life, you got to understand, Bubby
we hadn't seen a great quarterback before that. Yeah,
Bubby Brister was the best guy that was a quarterback leading up to that point. And when Neil O'Donnell was able to come in and just drive the team up and down the field the way he did and just sling the ball, I hadn't seen before as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So as a kid in my early teens, seeing this guy come along, look at us, we're winning games, we're winning divisions, we're doing a lot of things the Steelers did in the early to mid 90s. And Neil O'Donnell was somebody that I thought was really, really good up until that moment. And I guess if you take those two throws out, I may still think that he was a really good quarterback, but nonetheless, I think you're right. Mr. Malone. I'm sorry, Michael.
Yes.
Team USA, they take a loss last night. They play Sweden or Finland, one of these two teams. They played Sweden. They lose 2-1. Nonetheless, they still go on to the championship game tomorrow night. Team Canada, they beat Finland 5-3 in their matchup. So that sets it all up, Mike. Thursday night, 8 o'clock, the championship of this 4-team tournament, if you will. The Team USA versus Team Canada. The Mike Sullivan versus Sidney Crosby. Crosby goes 26-0 in the Canadian team games that he's played in. He finally loses one to Team USA, a game that starts with 3 fights within the first 9 seconds of the game. Mike, is there any concern for this? And again, you can't say, is there any concern for this USA team, because Canada's not going to be a pushover to begin with.
Yeah. Mike,
do you think that USA wins this game tomorrow or Thursday night? What's your take on this?
I think they can win. They prove they can beat Canada, but I know in last night's game, no Austin Matthews, no Matthew Tkachuk, Charlie McAvoy and D was out, so they were missing some damn good players that were not in there. They're able to beat Sweden. Now, can they beat Canada without Matthews and Tkachuk and McAvoy? I don't think so. Now, if those guys don't play, I think the edge swings big time over to Canada. But if they play, I still think it's going to be a 50-50 matchup, because I don't expect Canada to play as bad as they did in the finals, the way they did it in that round robin matchup against the U.S.
Again, I'm watching the Team USA game last night, and they score. We score. USA scores within 35 seconds.
Yeah.
One of the Chucks, or these guys with these Chuck names at the end, I can't keep up with them, but they were leveling the guys that played for Canada, and I'm like, this is great. We're going to just murder this team. Again, we were playing Sweden. Dude knocked down 2 people in one play. Everybody's just going crazy, chanting USA. USA was in Boston. I thought, man, this is going to be, total USA wipeout. They should annihilate this team. But I turned my attention away. I come back. It was 2-1 Sweden, and that ended up being what the score was at the end of the game. So, as you were saying, Mike, it did seem like they played as if they were missing some players. Is this game? Does it? I don't want to ask you if it matters, because of course it matters when you're playing for your country. But at the end of the day, this is going to wrap up All-Star Weekend. These two teams are going to play against one another, and then they're going to get back to their 9 to 5, if you will. How how big is this game for the players on both sides of this, Mike? And also, you know, you got to look around the world with things that are going on now, obviously, that caused a little bit of an uproar, you know, with fans between the two countries, the United States and Canada. Mike, how big is this game for these two teams as they get ready to go back to their 9-to-5 jobs?
It's a big deal, especially in hockey, because international records and accomplishments add to your career more than they do for like anyone that does any international like baseball and goes to the pros or even basketball. In hockey, it's still, yeah, you got the NHL, people count your Stanley Cups, but they also count how many gold medals did you win for your country? Did you get the golden goal, the goal to win the series for your team? Or did you win the MVP award for the Olympic tournament? So yeah, this is very, very important to these
And
guys.
Mike, you can continue. Just let me cut in.
Yeah.
This is what I like about a mid-season classic, because this has meaning.
Yeah.
And it isn't like the guys are just going through the motions because they put this game together. You know, I really like what hockey has going on with their all-star situation.
Yeah, because and that's just been ingrained in hockey since the beginning of the NHL. Really, like it was always an international competition, and then they've always against each other in the Winter Olympics and different terms that they had. Then the NHL formed, and that stuff still carried on. And those guys care about that deeply, and it still continues to this day. And then all the other stuff that's going on outside of the sports world, that makes it even more competitive for the guys too, because they get even a little more bragging rights to the guys. And then you're also competing against your own teammates, so you can go back and then you know how it is with your boys.
Yeah.
Oh, I one ups you. So yeah, there's a lot at stake here for these guys.
I like it. Again, like I said, it gives meaning to what these guys are doing. A lot of times you go out and you go through the motions at your all-star game. This kind of takes it back a little bit to when we were younger and all-star games meant something. So it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. That is 8:00 Thursday night, the championship, and that'll wrap up this 4-team tournament that the NHL players are involved with. Really excited about that, Mike. Any thoughts? Who do you think is going to walk away with this?
Damn,
it's hard to root against Canada in a hockey game. I mean, it really is.
It is, but but we did beat them. But
yeah,
Canada,
we did.
But Canada, you also got the Crosby factor. He knows how to win, and the U.S. squad. But I'm going to go with the U.S. squad. Their goaltending play, again, you can ride a hot goalie in any tournament to a victory, and I think that's what's going to happen. And I think the U.S. team, they're playing like that Mike Sullivan ideal system: speed, just overwhelm you with the forecheck and just wear you down. And you got a damn good goalie going on right now, so I'm giving the edge to the U.S. just on the system that they're playing and the hot goalie.
And one thing I noticed, like, it was about hockey is this. When I was growing up, the 1992 Dream Team in the the basketball players, they were just unstoppable. And as time went on, you started to see the world catch up a little bit. They started catching up. Lithuania gets a little bit better. This team gets a little bit better. And then you start to see the rest of the world catch up to the United States with basketball. Not in the sense that we still obviously are the best in the world. But at the end of the day, Mike, does it feel to you that the USA might be inching a little bit on Canada overall, just in the game of hockey? Because Canada used to dominate everything as far as hockey. Now the United States they're in there throwing some monkey wrenches in the clockwork every time they seem to play them. Are they catching up, Mike, in the world stage as far as hockey goes?
They're catching up big time. And you saw this. My God, look, there's how many guys from Pittsburgh alone that are in the NHL. You like two or three guys in there. Like JT Miller's coming off the top of my head right now. But so Lemieux made it very popular in Pittsburgh, and then you go to Chicago, they became really big. LA, Wayne Gretzky. So it's a slow movement, but we're finally catching up, and where we're catching up big time too is in goaltending. A lot of the joke running around now is about Canada and their goaltending situation is everyone watched in this generation grew up watching Crosby. They wanted to be the next Crosby. No one wanted to be that next Patrick Waugh.
Right.
And that's where the U.S. is catching up is in goaltending.
I was always another thing, real quick, if I could interject here on this one. The NHL is a very international league anyway, featuring more international players than any other sports league in the United States. A lot of these players for all four of these teams both play with and against a lot of the other players that are on the other three teams. So these guys are already playing against the very best in the world. Whereas, say, you gave the example of European teams versus American basketball teams. Those European League teams, outside of a couple of players, literally a handful of players that would make it to the NBA, didn't have that experience of years of playing against the best in the world. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it makes sense that the U.S. is catching up because, yeah, we've always been a little behind on hockey, but even, 13 years ago, there was the Winter Olympics when USA-Canada went to overtime, and it's been pretty head-to-head ever since. Canada still wins more of the time, but a lot of those American players are already playing against those Canadian players and Swedish players and Finnish and Russian and all that all the time anyway. So they see that high-quality professional player attitude and know-how, and they learn all the tricks, and they get better because iron sharpens iron. And you don't see that in baseball. You don't see that in basketball quite as much, at least not with America. In Europe, you see it a lot more because the countries are close together and they can travel and all that stuff. But I think that's a big part of it, too. All these American players, as you said, influenced by guys like Lemieux and Crosby and Wayne Gretzky and these Canadian players and some of the Russian players and whatnot, after years and years and years of sharpening their skills against those great players, when you put them into a tournament like this, they've already seen it all. Yeah. And they know how to play the game, and it's just a matter of who wants it more at that point.
Yeah, and like in the youth hockey leagues too. Like my buddy, he was coaching his kids' team, and it's from like Western PA, Western PA, Eastern Ohio, and they were going up to tournaments up in New York playing against Canadian teams, and they were winning their age groups. So, it's, like you said, man, we're with playing against each other. Not even in like junior hockey now, it's now gone into like the midget leagues to where you're crossing over the border to play each other. So it's, like you said, that iron sharpens iron.
Hockey's one of those sports where, it's unfortunate to say, but it's a little bit more of a higher class sport for a lot of the players, right? A lot of these guys grew up playing hockey, and hockey is probably one of the more, if not the most expensive team sport in America of the four major to get into. Anybody can get a glove and a bat and play baseball, but it takes a lot to play hockey. Money wise and time. It just takes a lot of time and effort.
Yeah,
and
you can't take the basketball and go out back. I mean, you got to go to a hockey rink and get there. And
that's what I'm saying, right? It's I don't want to call it an elitist sport, but in America, it's kind of an elitist sport.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
to play it, not to watch, obviously, but
to play. Yeah, because the cost of it is insane. What my buddy was telling me, the equipment, travel costs, and everything.
Right.
And then to keep going, that dedication you have to keep, putting all that money into it.
People who get to professional hockey levels love the sport of hockey more than any other player is going to love their particular other sport.
I think you might be right.
For the most part. You're going to have those guys that are the above. Tom Brady probably loves football more than anybody has ever loved football, for example, and he shows it by going out and playing his best every single game. And you see a lot more of that in hockey than you do in other sports. You don't ever see guys take plays off in hockey the way you see it in the NFL, for example. You know? The dedication is there, and these guys are they are just born and raised as hockey players from the womb, and it shows through their magnificent play.
Guys, championship game Thursday night, 8:00. Team USA, Team Canada. This settles it all. Winner takes all. Thursday night, everybody. We certainly will be watching it. Guys, let's jump on the board here real quick. I'm going to start with the oldest. Okay, let me go to the oldest text that I do or message I have here, which would have been from Mark Malone. Mark Malone says, "Remember when Bubby Brister outgunned John Elway?" I do. That was a fun time, that late 80s, because our division was so weird because it was the Browns, the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Oilers, and those four were just constantly battling to try to win that division. And it seemed like anytime you would face John Elway and the Denver Broncos, they would just kill you because they were the team of the 80s for the AFC for the most part. They didn't win any Super Bowls, but they were the team that was getting there. And I do remember Bubby Brister beating him. And I also remember Cordell Stewart beating him in 1998, a game that we weren't supposed to win. We win 35-24 in the regular season.
I was at that game.
You were at that game, I was going to say.
December 7th, 1997. We were down at halftime by like 2 touchdowns, and Cordell led one of his greatest games. He led the comeback, and we won the game, and then we got smoked by Denver 2 months later in the AFC Championship game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was at that game. First game I ever went to was that game.
4 interceptions, 1 fumble by Cordell Stewart in that game. Unfortunately, we take the loss, but nonetheless, he did beat the Broncos in a game that we were not supposed to win earlier in the season.
Yep.
Corey Beavers, what's up, my brother?
What?
Hold on. Guys, hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got an error saying I need to reload the page.
Yeah, I did too.
You get that too? Okay.
I lost my messages. Mike, do you have the messages?
It's in chat. Yeah, I don't have the chat either. Chat is gone.
All right. So yeah, I got the messages.
Right.
Throw it up on the board here real quick. Oh my goodness. Okay. Here we go. Corey.
Corey.
Yeah. What up, guys?
Corey Beavers, good morning, sir. Have you noticed every single day there's a new report about 6 different potential free agent targets for us, and it always showing great interest or most likely to sign? And then Roger Murray, good morning, my friend, to Roger as well. He responds, Corey, it's like last week when Ryan asked about the rumors, and I've discovered it's mostly clickbait. For instance, the Steelers never talked to Jags about Lawrence. And then Corey Beavers says, Roger, that was the most ridiculous, obvious clickbait. Laugh my ass off. I don't know what went on, Mike. I think we all lost our board. I'm not real sure why. I think it definitely happened at the same time because as soon as Finch responded is when everything disappeared on my end.
There was like a scammer in one of the chats.
Okay.
And I had to block them, and I didn't realize it would mess up something on your guys' side.
Oh,
so you guys should be good. I'm sorry about that.
So if it comes up, it's going to come up on the screen.
Yeah. I'll put the overlay up and everything. My bad, guys.
Okay,
I thought it would take care of mine and wouldn't affect
I've been sharing to my Twitch channel, and I wonder if some Twitch folks are because there's how Twitch is, man. There's
it
a
was
lot
like
of
one of those
AI bots ads.
Yeah, it was an advertising AI bot, so I just wanted it off the screens. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you could leave it up. It doesn't matter, I guess. Guys, let's get over. We're talking some Steelers. A couple of things over the weekend, guys, as Roger and Corey were talking, some free agency talk. Some things that got cleared up for me. It might have even been on one of our YouTube posts, Mike. Was there a question? Or no, I think a guy commented about Deebo Samuel on one of our comment sections.
Yeah.
Saying basically this dude is not what you think he is. He's a San Francisco fan.
Yeah.
This dude has a lot of injury problems. He gets the dropsies a lot. With that being said, Mike, you know what? One thing that I've noticed was the latter information that you get about Deebo Samuel's nothing is fantastic. I mean, from what he's supposed to be out there in San Francisco. Now, I don't know if it's just because San Fran had a really bad season this year, because you got to remember this team went to the Super Bowl last year. But Mike, from some things I read and from this comment on the video from the other day, where's his stock with you guys, Finch, Mike, with Deebo Samuel at this point? Like I said, now looking more into it, I'm starting to say, you know what? You haven't heard his name called for the past year, maybe. He doesn't seem to be making the amazing plays that you think that he should. As you watch him play, he's extremely athletic, extremely talented. Did the stock fall on him a little bit, guys? Deebo Samuel?
Was he hurt at the beginning of last season? Because half of San Francisco's squad was out for a good portion of the early season, and I'm not sure if he was one of those guys.
He missed. He missed like a game. I think he missed one game in week 7. I'm looking now, and
that was about the time when the whole team
that was week
down.
7, and then the partial of week 17 against Detroit. He didn't play a whole lot.
I think the real question is the stock might be high or low on Deebo. The real question should be: is he going to be a good fit for us, even if he is at his top of his game? Is he a good fit for the Steelers? And also, is he better than what we currently have? We've been talking nonstop about the defense for the Steelers for the last couple of weeks and how they had a pretty decent season, but the defensive line isn't doing well and this and ain't going on and whatnot. We need people to fit in. We need people that fit in. And does Deebo fit in with our schemes? That's the big issue.
And the thing is, we don't know what our schemes are. At the end of the day, my first answer when you just asked that question in my head was, can he catch a football? Can he catch a football? Because you said, is he going to be better than what we had? And obviously we didn't throw to Mike Williams for the second half of the season for whatever reason. I mean, who's going to be throwing? What are we going to be doing? We don't even know if, people are they still talking to Arthur Smith? Or is Who's going to be under center? You know what I mean? So there's so many questions to be answered at this point, guys. And even just hoping that we can stay healthy. All those things that you got to put into consideration. And I don't know. As I said, it's just I'm kind of going off of hearsay here. What people were saying about Debo and this dude from San Francisco again. Sometimes you got to take what they say and then say, well, you know what? They do watch them week in, week out. Like we see Pat Freiermuth, for an example, where other people would not. We'd say, well, that dude's really good. You're going to like him on your squad. So just a question that popped up, and again, we don't even know what our scheme is going to be, guys. Right?
Yeah, Arthur Smith is coming back, but who, like you said, who's going to be quarterback? Are we going to actually attack the middle of the field? And this guy, Debo Samuel, he lines up 31% of the time in the slot, so you're going to lose 30% of the production out of him. And like Debo, he'd be a decent number two. He's not my ideal number two. He has number two type numbers, 600 yards this season, 1,000 yards this season, 800 yards that season. Is what he is. I don't think he's the greatest route runner in the world. He's, but you can get he's a playmaker. Get the ball in his hand. He averages about like 5 drops a year. That's like Deontay Johnson type numbers. So he is what he is. He's not worth the money that his contract is right now. He had that one really good 2-year span where he was running, catching, throwing, doing all this weird gadget stuff. Well, then they got Christian McCaffrey, then they stopped doing it. I don't see the Steelers turning him into that type of player. So he's going to be just a legit number 2 receiver, and I don't think he'd be worth it. I think he'd be better off going, finding someone in free agency.
On to the next guy. Some rumors we're going to talk a little bit today, and on the board, Corey Beavers just said, I'm just going to keep an eye on my phone over here because I'm not getting it on the screen.
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
Corey Beavers says today it's Jeremy McNichols. So again, yes, the rumor mill will continue. It doesn't fail. It's not going to matter until we get to the free agency and things like this. We could sign free agents. At that point, it's going to be like, it just really starts taking off. And that's when you're going to start having a lot of fun bringing new guys over, new faces in. Mike Finch, let's go to the next guy here. We're talking about some possible Yinzer Joe. What's up, my man?
What up?
Good morning to you. He says, I think I would rather have Johnson back than sign Debo. That's what I'm saying, Mike. And that's kind of where I was going with that is, that's where I'm making the correlation here is you might have another Deontay Johnson on your hand. And, maybe we should continue to look if that's the case. If you can get better, go better. And it's not the guy's skill. Of course, the guy's crazy athletic. But at the end of the day, is he going to be that kind of guy? Just those little things that Deontay did. You don't want key drops in key situations. You don't want key stupid play at the wrong time. So if you could avoid that, that's going to lead me to the next one here, Mike. T. Higgins, they're looking to tag him in Cincinnati. Yeah. So that's one thing that they were speculating. He's going to go to New England. He's going to go to Pittsburgh. He's going to go to, here or there. T. Higgins, it looks like he's going to be tagged by the Bengals. Another one, Mike, I heard this morning, it looks like the Steelers are expected to let Dan Moore Jr. and James Daniels test free agency. Finch, how do you think that this affects our offense moving forward? Again, if we can stay healthy, we could probably get by. But if we have problems like we had last year, I mean, what's the offensive line situation look like, Finch?
It doesn't look very good, does it?
It's thin.
Yeah, it's thin, right? Like you said, if everybody stays healthy, it can be okay. And there was, there was some gel between the line later in the season. They were starting to bring it together, right? Like you would see flashes of brilliance. You would see a hole open up here or there. You would see Jaden hit a hole. You would see Russ have a hole to run through for himself or a lane. The offensive line is improving. I was never high on Dan Moore. I never thought he was that great. It's going to have an effect because, when you take one piece out of a line, it makes a real big difference. It's a cohesive unit. Mm-hmm. We've seen it here in Pittsburgh 1,000 times. I could specifically remember a few years ago when Marquise Pouncey started to really decline. And even though the rest of the team around him was still playing pretty well, not having him at his full capability made things tough for Ben. That's how you have to look at it it's the quality of the players is great, but it's that cohesiveness that really matters when it comes to an O-line or a D-line. And, anytime you take one of those pieces out of there, it's going to have an effect. Is it a positive or negative effect is left to be seen.
And they were already anticipating that Daniels would not be back this year. That's why they drafted McCormick to groom him to be the replacement. And it just so happened, he tore his Achilles and that forced McCormick into the lineup, which might be good for the long run. We got to see him through 14 games. I think he started and played. So he was able to get that game action. He wasn't just a guy who's going to sit in on the bench. He has, familiarity now with Frazier. He has familiarity with Jones, who hopefully will be at the right tackle. Then you got Seumalo coming back next year. He had a down year. Hope, he bounces back because maybe, he wasn't used to playing next to Frazier. And then Frazier has another year experience. And then you're getting Fatanu back. Hopefully he goes to left tackle. So it's not that much of a shakeup because you were anticipating both of these moves, but Dan Moore had a stretch this first half of the year where he looked like he was one of the better left tackles in the league, and then he came crashing back down just like everyone else on the team in the latter half of the year. So I'm not opposed to him going away. It's just now, like Ryan said, all right, now we got to get depth. We got to find veteran depth that can come in and guys who can hopefully start, a handful of games if something happens. Because, the 5 names I read off, that should be your starting lineup from
Mike, let me
training camp on.
Do you think that let me give these names out. As you said, Zach Frazier will be your center, McCormick, Seumalo will be your guards, Fatanu and Broderick Jones will be your tackle. That's a pretty young offensive line. I mean, the experience is limited, of course. Now, do you think that this would be a better reason to maybe sign Justin Fields to a couple years because this line is so young? You know what? This guy is athletic. He's mobile. Yep. You know what? We're not banking on him being our franchise quarterback for the next 10 plus years. Yeah. So let him play behind this line. We'll play it by ear. We'll kind of maybe, we'll draft the Jackson in the 3rd round or whatever. And we'll, continue to look for our guy. But maybe let's keep Fields around. He's got some experience in the league. And if he doesn't work out after those 2 years, we have our guy and we can send him down the road with some value, hopefully. Mike, do you think that the inexperience of the offensive line is going to ultimately dictate the decision the Steelers make at quarterback?
Ooh. That is a good question. I don't know because do the Steelers really?
Because you put your valuable quarterback behind this very young line who again wouldn't stay healthy.
No, I wouldn't. I like you said, and they want a quarterback who has some mobility, and Fields has more than enough mobility, and like you said, with that young line, I'd rather have Justin Fields behind this line, and this line wouldn't be that bad of a line going into the season. I think. It'd be one of our better lines we've had to start.
It'll be the best line that Justin Fields has ever played behind.
Yes, by far.
By far. Because Chicago, those 4 seasons he was there, 3 seasons. They were terrible. That offensive line was terrible. And Justin showed signs of brilliance, but he could never really establish himself in a game because as soon as he'd make a couple great passes, he would spend 2 or 3 plays on the ground. He couldn't get motivation. He couldn't get, momentum in his games. And it was because he had such terrible line play in front of him. And Caleb Williams is seeing that in Chicago now. So there's no reason to believe that our line couldn't do better for Mr. Fields than what he was used to in Chicago, and even better than what he saw in those first 6 games as a Steeler last year. It could very well happen. And it's Justin, you make a great point. He's very mobile. He can get out of some situations, sticky situations, when the line doesn't hold the pocket for him. The real question with Justin, though, is when he gets into that sticky situation, is he going to make a good decision with the football?
And he has a tendency to throw a
pick, and he has a tendency to fumble.
A lot about him. I mean, that'd be the case because if he's good, that's going to be what his Achilles heel. That's what's going to cause his mistakes. Right. We'll learn that. We'll learn that often.
Right.
And and then we'll know. So I mean, the thing is, like we were saying, he's not too young for the situation, Fields. I'm saying, and he's not too old. And in other words, he's still mobile enough.
Still has his legs,
but he's not wet behind the ears. So I like I said, if they would put him at quarterback, which a lot of people are speculating at this point is going to be what happens.
I like it.
Behind this offensive line, maybe you don't want to bring your franchise quarterback in who you want to be your guy and you're going to spend $80 million on for the next how many years, playing behind that line. I mean, you've seen the way that it played out last season. Yeah. Let's get back to the board. Yinzer Joe says, I wouldn't assume that the next season's rookies on the line would have a lot more continuity. Also, he says we need those veterans to help develop those guys, show them the tricks of the trade. Maybe he's talking about Daniels and Moore. And then Brian, what's up, my man? Good morning to you, sir. He says the O-line has young pedigree. They will be good unless Jones is a total bust. And that's a good question. And that's a good point as well, guys. Is it how long and how much energy and effort are we going to put into Broderick Jones? I mean, is this a guy that we realistically see being, I mean, he came in as the left tackle. Now he's playing right tackle. There's been times the dude looks like he doesn't know which way he's going, but there's been times that, he does. He gets out there and lays the smack down and he looks all right. So, Mike, what's the future with Broderick Jones? How long is his leash? And I mean, we're already coming up, this coming season will be his third year already.
Yeah.
Again, we hope to be past that point. We spent 2 drafts trying to build this offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of young talent. What's the realistic expectations of a guy like Broderick Jones at this point?
At this point, this would have been the year. I was hoping year 2 he would have taken that big jump. Like we heard reports out of training camp that he thought he was the guy. He thought he was it. Didn't have to take it seriously. Then got his ass whooped all year long. And like you said, he showed flashes of brilliance. And that's what's frustrating with this guy. You can see that he can do it. You can see, like we saw it in his rookie year when he came in and that run game took off, and he was the catalyst for it. And that's why I'm a proponent of keeping him at right tackle, letting him be our road. Him and McCormick just beat the shit out of people on that side, run to that side, and let him play there. I hope that's what they do. But this year 3 has to be it. That's usually when you figure out what kind of player you're going to be in this league. Are you going to make it or not? That's usually when draft classes it's officially kick off. Is year 3. That's when you should be ready to go, especially as a first round pick. You should be ready to go.
It just you hate the feeling to get a guy. You invest your time, your money, your effort, your energy, and then 3 years later, you find out that he's not good enough, and you got to start over. And that's so frustrating.
Happened with the Steelers many times.
And
that's what happens when you miss on a first round pick. It sets you back no matter what position.
I mean, we generally are lucky with picks and with first round picks and with our draft. And there's teams that deal with this kind of stuff on the regular. You feel bad. It's a terrible situation. And again, it feels like you're running in place. I mean, again, the money, the time, the effort you put into this guy, and then at the end of his rookie contract, you're like, he's not going to make it. Let's start over and hope that guy works. So
the Steelers did make it a little tough on him, though. I remember reading an article, and I believe it was with Alan Faneca years ago, where the Steelers had bumped him from one side to the other of the line, and he's obviously a Hall of Famer, so it wasn't a big deal for him. But he said that it's like trying to write with the other hand. You're so used to moving left or moving right. And then all of a sudden the team says, hey, we're going to start running you on this side of the ball, this side of the field, this side of the line. And you got to start memorizing the plays. And the plays are the same. And maybe a lot of the packages are the same, but it's flipped. And, these guys, it takes time to adjust to that. You have a guy like Brod Jones, who is very, very young and still learning the game. I think next season he has a chance to really put it together because now he has seen both sides of the line. He's made mistakes. He's learning from his mistakes. He's been penalized quite a bit. Hopefully he learns from his mistakes there. And, he has the pedigree. Brian's right. The pedigree is there. The ability is there. You just got to put it together mentally.
Is there any concern for you guys? Just obviously his play has been a concern, but his extracurricular activity where near the end of the season, he started to turn into the peacemaker, but that's fine and dandy. But down the road, games on the line, we're playing the Bengals in a game that we need to win next season, or the Vikings that we're going to be playing, or the Chiefs that we're going to be playing. Tough season next year, guys. And it comes along that let me catch up on this real quick, guys. The Waterboy Fields and Wilson may not even be in Pittsburgh organization if they got real money in free agency. Where was I going? What were we just talking about? I'm sorry.
Broderick Jones.
Broderick Jones. So, guys, I don't know with him. I'm just concerned at this point, and that's what I was saying with just his extracurriculars. He was trying to be the peacemaker, but as I said, does he? He's always going to be that potential loose cannon in a sense. Mike and Finch. Yes, he did stick up for his guys. Yes, he wasn't starting these fights last year, but he always has to have. He always has to be.
He was always around.
You can't ever say Broderick. Separate yourself from the situation. and move on. So that's another concern I have with him. I think that's going to play a big role this season, and this season's going to be a telltale year for Broderick Jones. Hopefully he has it together. I do want to say good morning to Jen on the board. Jen? And I do want to say good morning to the Water Boy as well. You know what? That's so true, Water Boy. It could very well not be one of these two guys. But again, as I was saying, if you could squeeze a 2-year contract out with Justin Fields, maybe that might be the best option because your line's awfully young. Do you want your franchise? Yeah. Let's just say you go out and get Sam Darnold for $40 million or whatever the case may be, or you bring in a young stud, maybe the kid out of Ole Miss. We want him to be our guy of the future. Do you really want them behind this offensive line at this point in their tenure? Still a lot of problems, still a lot of issues, still very young. I'm not saying they're bad, but again, you put all your eggs behind this particular line from beginning to end. I don't know. Maybe give Fields 2 years. Let's work on, see what else is coming out of the draft next year. The draft's in Pittsburgh. If we have a less than stellar season, guess what? We go out and get a better draft pick in Pittsburgh. Maybe get our guy. It could be one of these things that was just meant to happen, and it just happens that way.
And there's going to be more quarterbacks available in that draft the following year as well. That's a big part of it too. I know that Mike Tomlin's thinking about that. Like,
absolutely.
Hey, if we can get a good, I don't want to say cheap deal, but a reasonable monetary deal for Fields for, say, a 2-year contract, that could really fit perfectly for what the Steelers want to do.
And if they give him that starting spot too, Finch, that could be all the more incentive. They say, dude, here's two nice.
This is your shot, dude.
This is
your
shot.
This is it.
Yeah. If anything, other teams will see that, and if his time's out in Pittsburgh 2 years from now, people might say, you know what, let's give this guy the bag.
Yeah. And that's kind of what like Fields wants to, and I don't blame him as a player. He wants like some assurance. It's not like, hey, I'm going to be the starter, but I'm going to have a legitimate shot to come in and compete no matter what else you do.
That's all everybody wants, and that's all everybody deserves.
And I think that's what Pittsburgh will, more or less has told him too. Like, if you come back, you're going to have that opportunity, but go out there and see what else you can get to. If you can make more money elsewhere, God bless you. Go, more power to it. Yeah. But real quick, back to Jones and about the left and right. He played about 1,300 snaps of left tackle in college. He's already played 1,100 snaps at right tackle.
He's going to be the right tackle.
So there you go. He's putting it together.
Those snaps at right tackle are more valuable than the ones that he had in college because he's going up against pro guys in college. He was a raw talent going up against other raw talent that wasn't refined. Yeah, they're SEC athletes, but they're still college athletes. They're not refined pros. He's going up against the best of the best at right tackle. Leave him there because we already see he is not good in pass protection.
Right.
Keep him on the right side. At least if he gets burnt, it's like Ryan said, it's not from the blind side, and you're not getting your quarterback killed.
And I wasn't suggesting that we move him back to the left. I was just saying that it's good that we've had him on both sides of the ball, and I didn't realize that the numbers were almost even, really.
They're about even. Yeah,
because he has all those snaps in the NFL now at that side. It's good to see that. I was just saying that it's understandable that it's hard to flip your position.
And it's funny too because he said Alan Faneca said it's difficult. Then he had like Tun Shilkin who played in the NFL for a long time too. Going, man, it's just whatever. That's just where you put your hand in the dirt.
That's certainly more difficult.
True. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody responds differently.
But
guys, also, I do want to say this. Russell Wilson, he's going somewhere else to screw up somebody's team is what's going to happen with him. Because seriously, the guy at his age still wants big quarterback money. He's going to go to a team that's going to be willing to give him big quarterback money. Yep. They're not going to be good. He's not that good anymore. And he's going to go do to other teams what teams do to our Pirates and things like this. He's going there. He's going to suck up a bunch of money, and then he's going to walk out and then walk into the Hall of Fame eventually. So I think Russell Wilson's time here is absolutely
He'll
done.
be in a warm weather city next year. He'll be at Tampa or Miami or something like that.
I'm going far south as I can. If I'm him, I'm going warm. I'm on one from
why the heck
Seattle, Denver, Pittsburgh. Like
no thanks.
No. I want somewhere sunny.
Like Tom Brady.
We got through some wide receivers. We got through the offensive line guys. One more. We're going to jump over to the defense. A thing that I saw this morning was. Rumor, Chardavius Ward, Mike. Ward?
Chardavius Ward, yeah.
Any, so, I mean, we're going to have some DBs moving. We have our secondary again is going to need some work this offseason.
Yeah.
Especially if Dante Jackson moves like people were speculating. Mike, Chardavius Ward, and any other people at that position that you have your eye on?
Ward was one of the guys I was looking at corner. hold on, I have a list of corners here. I was also Asante Samuel Jr. He's
Yeah.
a little smaller than what the Steelers are looking for in corners.
He's a
only
baller, though.
Yeah, he had a down year last year, but the 2 previous years he was, rated PFF number 13, number 21 corner, and just a little off last year. The market value for him is like 3 years, 14.5 million each. Okay, I'm taking a flyer on a former first round pick who's only like 25, 26 years old. I'd sign him, and I'm putting him on the outside opposite Joey Porter. And the guy can play man, the guy can play zone. I think he would fit in well with us. The only thing is with him, he's not that great of a tackler. But you know what? If he's good in coverage, I'll take it.
We got two cornerbacks that can't tackle.
Hey,
That's gonna be something.
Joey Porter improved as a tackler.
He improved. That's safe to say.
Well,
he certainly did improve.
He's become more willing to throw his head in there and shoulder in there to try and bring someone down.
I mean, he'll continue, so that's going to be good, guys. And Mike, do you think, and Finch, do you guys think that it's good? That's the ideal move for the cornerback position, just where we're at with the offense right now? And we have to get, we have to get a wide receiver too. We have to see what Najee is going to do. We have to hope that this offensive line holds up. You know what? It totally slipped my mind what I was going to say. It happens. But Charvarius Ward, Mike, and these other deep. Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is the free agency the route to go with this particular situation? Again, everything that you're going to need on offense, you're going to spend money in free agency putting those pieces together. You're going to spend your draft picks putting those pieces together. But at the end of the day, at the corner position, you're going to need that guy. Losing Dante Jackson, if he does in fact leave, it's going to be huge. Is this the route to go, Mike? Because you're not going to go after a cornerback with your top 3 picks this year. I can pretty much guarantee that with what you need. Is this the safe route to go? And is he the top, Ward? Is he the top of the game as far as potential players that we could possibly land at that position, Mike?
He's up there. He's like last year though, but he also had a down year last year. So a couple of the guys we're talking about, they had down years, but you look at the 2 years previous, they were some of the better corners in the league. Charvarius Ward, I'm looking at him. Yeah, he's getting a little long in the tooth at 28 for a corner, but there's him. I saw talk about like Brian Murphy Jr. out of Minnesota. He improved tremendously in that system under Brian Flores. So he's another option. So I would rather go free agency for cornerback because now's not the time to draft a young corner and try and develop them. I want to go out and get a veteran that can play outside, and we also need to get someone who can play slot corner as well, unless you're going to trust Beanie Bishop in that role. So I wouldn't be opposed to like Ward, Asante Samuel, or Brian Murphy in free agency. One of those guys, dress receiver in free agency and in the draft, and D-line in free agency and in the draft. It's going to be a busy offseason for the Steelers. They have like what, $60 million in cap space. They should be doing some
fun.
My biggest fear is what they're going to do. They're going to announce extensions for Cam Hayward. They're going to announce.
Not it is. They can't.
I know. He has 2 years,
and they're all going to say, "Look at the good season he just had." That is going to be the thing that keeps going.
The only thing, like with Cam's contract, if I wouldn't sign him to an extension, I'd renegotiate his contract because there's zero dead cap space for him. Maybe roll money from next year into this year for a bonus to him and make him happy.
Mike,
but I'm afraid a TJ Watt extension is going to come.
Mike, I was just reading this morning that the remember we were talking yesterday about all those good picks that just kept falling on the lap of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just reading it all came back to that Carson Wentz deal and everything they were able to get because of Carson Wentz. Because of Carson Wentz, they ultimately got Cooper DeJean last year. Yep. They ultimately got Jalen Carter. They ultimately got Brown. And their other what's the other receiver's name?
Smith
and AJ Brown. Mike Smith, AJ Brown, Jalen Carter, and Cooper DeJean ultimately all because of the Carson Wentz trade.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about falling forward, or come on, look at that.
And that's what you have to do, and like that's how you rebuild a team quick. That's how you get back to a Super Bowl. That's how you get back to being a top team.
Takes a little luck too, man. They kind of fell into that situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you got.
There's
lucky
always
too.
one team that falls into that situation every couple of the years who just, they just happen to have 95 draft picks once. I mean,
Right?
Bill Belichick managed to do it like 10 years in a row.
Yeah.
With these Philadelphia Eagles, Mike, they just came in. The guys that we just mentioned, on top of that, throw in Quinton Marshall, and I mean, go down the list.
Yeah.
These Philadelphia Eagles, their drafts have been A++ pluses for the past 2-3 years.
And then they supplement with getting a deal for like Saquon freaking Barkley.
Right.
It's like
whatever they're doing it right.
Their GM is got to be just dude.
Roseman,
that guy's great.
And
he's doing great. Howie Roseman,
yeah. The thing that's giving me hope here is that Andy Weidl came from that system, and
He's trying, man.
And Omar Khan has been the cap guru for a long time in Pittsburgh, and he's forward thinking as well. Him and Weidl, if they can get their way, and if they, I would just love. I hate to see him go, but you got to move on from guys to get that talent back in. Like move on from Cam, move on from TJ Watt. Get some draft picks for him. You won't get anything for Cam because of how old he is, but you still be able to get something for TJ Watt.
Oh yeah.
Let's move forward, guys. The Water Boy. Now you're talking my lange. This is what I like to hear.
Yeah.
This is the one that I really like. What the Water Boy says, heard a lot of talk about the Stafford and Cup trade for some 6th, 7th round draft picks, and then Yinzer Joe replies, I'd love to have Cup with Stafford and bring in Godwin, maybe draft a good wide receiver too.
You know what? Like if you can get Stafford and Cup for 6th round picks, 7th round picks, I'm doing that in a heartbeat. I'm figuring out my salary cap situation later.
Absolutely. That's my ideal. If you bring in these two guys, like, and would you go? I mean, obviously, Matt Stafford deserves money. Obviously, he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable giving Matt Stafford the money that you're trying? You want to give your franchise quarterback. You want your guy to come, Mike. But at his age, how much of a commitment are you making with Matthew Stafford? Because again, he's going to demand some money, but yet he's not the youngest guy in the league anymore. And with our unideal situation, as we mentioned, with the offensive line, we're bringing in new guys at skilled positions. How ideal is this? And I love it. Don't get me wrong. If Matthew Stafford was under center next year for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would be really excited. But Mike, how realistic and how would this actually work out for the Steelers overall in the organization with money and everything moving forward if they brought Matt Stafford in this year?
His cap hit is $49 million this year. $53
that's what I'm saying. He's an investment. There's no two ways about it.
And then
37 years old.
Yeah, 37 years old. This season, 20 touchdowns. Season before, 24 with 11 and 8 interceptions. Those 2 seasons. So wouldn't be worth that kind of money, but he would be an improvement from what we had. And if you bring in Cooper Kupp, who has some injury concerns, also his contract needs renegotiated. But Yinzer Joe said, get a Chris Godwin as well. Maybe you move George Pickens for other assets as well, and you draft another receiver. I would take it and see what happens because that defense will not be on the field as much because you would have an offense that would be able to attack all 3 parts of the field with the quarterback. But my only concern would be what we talked about at the very beginning of the show is this offensive line and Matt Stafford, who's a statue back there. How would he fare?
I agree. Finch, what do you think? Again, it seems like it's a little early. If you want to jump on and maybe win that playoff game this year that we've been missing, I would feel comfortable having a guy like Stafford back there. But again, in the big picture, as I stated earlier, there's still a lot of steps that need to happen before I think you're going to take and give that amount of money to your quarterback. Again, 37 years old. That's a lot of money, especially since we did bring in a guy on a blue light special who's going to be making that kind of money.
Yeah.
But at that age, guys, mid to late 30s, these guys are starting to get older. Is it make sense at all, Finch, to even talk Matthew Stafford at this point?
It all comes down to the price, and he's going to command way more than anybody's willing to give him from Pittsburgh. I think it's a huge cap hit. We would have to give up a good bit of player salary to get him.
And again, the return, Finch, he's 37 years old. What do you
I like Matt Stafford a lot. I've liked him for a long time. I think he's a great quarterback. He's good for the game of football. He's one of the hardest playing and just one of the hardest players of all time. There's an absolutely classic clip of him, NFL Films with Detroit, where he like messed up his arm and went out and threw a touchdown pass right after that,
I
popped
think
his shoulder out.
I think he'd be
It's good to have that kind of great guy.
Yeah.
37 is tough though, man, because one hit and he's done. And once again, he's a statue, but he's going to be playing behind a mediocre at best offensive line in the Steelers. We just got done talking about how the offensive line for the Steelers could improve this year and could get better, and they certainly can. But I think that our line would be better with a guy like Justin Fields behind it.
Finch, I know that you do have to take off.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. Would you be okay if they didn't go after Stafford, but they still land Cooper Kupp? I see. I like this. I like these two guys. The only thing that's really sketchy with me is the fact that Stafford's 37 years old. But don't get me wrong. I would take Cooper Kupp in a heartbeat. But then you run into a couple situations. You still have who you going to put on that other outside? You can put Coop out there, but he's still a smaller guy. He's probably going to be more productive in the slot. And you're up against issues like you already have a Calvin Austin III in there. So again, probably not going to happen. But I love these two names. If they were in Pittsburgh Steelers uniforms next year, no money, no anything like that, no other talk, I'd be thrilled to death.
You could say that about 100 players in the NFL, though.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's cool that they're linked, but I think this is all coming back to, for one, I think there is a lot of clickbait going around, as we saw earlier with the whole Trevor Lawrence thing. We were talking about that. It got mentioned. The connections to Kupp and the connection to Stafford probably aren't as strong as we are thinking or hoping. The talking is probably not really going on. It could be a lot of rumor mill stuff. But if we're playing that hypothetical game, hell yeah, man, I would love to have Matthew Stafford in a Steelers uniform, even if it was for 1 or 2 seasons.
And they're going to play.
The problem is he's going to command $35 million or $40 million for those 2 years. So like I just don't think it's feasible for the Steelers with Stafford. Kupp possibly, Stafford no.
All right, no, good take, Finch. Well, thank you, my friend. I hope that you have a great day. As always, I'll talk to you later on in the week. I think you said tomorrow and Friday you're available.
Yeah, I'm available tomorrow. I'll be available Friday, and we're doing 2 Cranky Jags Friday night.
Awesome.
So I'll definitely be back here soon, and I just love you guys.
Yeah,
man.
we ain't got much left to go here, my friends. Yeah. We love you as well, sir. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Finch. Great job as always, Mike. There it is. Speaking of Derpy, I'm wondering where he is. I have we have to award him, Mike, because he did win the picks this year. Yeah. He is ultimately the champion, and still no Derpy. I know he was. Take care, brother. I know that he was under the weather just recently, so hopefully we get our Derpy back on Thursday. Let me jump in here. I do want to say good morning, good afternoon to John on the board. I haven't seen you for a few days, my friend. It's always great to see John on the board. Let me get back to over-enthusiastic Mod Caleb. He says, where do the Steelers plan to play Dr. J? Could make a hell of a tight end.
I think he'd be another good slot receiver, man. Just see him jumping over the middle.
Yeah.
He'd be a good red zone threat.
John says the whole off season, absolutely, and that's why I like to have fun with it, because a lot of it's speculation. 99% of it isn't going to happen, but it's a lot of fun because, as I said, once the draft comes, you get new toys. Excuse me. Once the free agency signings come, you get new toys. So I mean, there's a lot of fun. There's downs and ups like everything else, waiting to get to these points. But nonetheless, and as I was going to say to Finch before he did leave, I mean, the thing that makes this even more interesting is Matt Stafford's wife comes out and says, I'm ready to move. Go ahead, make a trade, go somewhere. So I think little things like that, you say, well, you know what? He can end up in Pittsburgh. But at the end of the day, Mike, when you look at it realistically, I think that sets us back by taking him. And again, at 37 years old, that's the only thing that's stopping me is he is 37 years old.
And Stafford, 20 touchdowns, 8 picks in 16 games. Russell Wilson, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in 11 games. You're getting the same production on paper, the same production out of both quarterbacks. Maybe even a little bit more out of Russ if he played, the same amount of games. But it's at this point, I don't know. Give me Fields, see where we go. Even if we, finish 9-8, like we're probably destined to, that doesn't preclude us from getting a good quarterback. Because remember, when the Chiefs drafted Mahomes, their original draft pick was like 27. They traded up for him. Nothing stopping the Steelers from making a bold move in the draft this year or next year to trade up and get your guy.
Over enthusiastic in turn, Mod Caleb, I'm sorry. He says, do you think it will be harder for an NFL player to play in the NBA or the NBA player to play in the NFL? You know what? It all depends on the position, maybe, because,
Yeah, and the
you
player
know,
too.
yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to play basketball because it's the cardio, it's just constant running. I think that would be pose the most, it would pose a difficulty for the football players, but for basketball players going to the physicalness of football, I think would be difficult for them. So it just really depends, I guess, on who and what and where and why. But I think they'd both have their difficulties, and at the end of the day, they're both high top class athletes, so
Yeah.
they could probably pull it off. I mean, I remember seeing LeBron out there running around doing patterns, but at the end of the day, you take 1 or 2 shots over the middle. Is that going to change how you
you
play
want to
the
play?
game? Yeah,
Yeah, because people are like, "Oh man, Draymond Green at tight end, he's a bully in the NBA." You can be a bully in the NBA, but you go out like you said and get hit the way when Derwin James picked up Travis Kelce and suplexed him on his head. I don't see Draymond getting up and wanting to do that again.
Over enthusiasm. That was a trick question. Neither can play in the NHL. Probably correct, sir. Also, Finch said, "Boom." Mike, couple more things here, and we are going to get ready to start wrapping things up. Mike, this is interesting. I didn't know the list was so short. Unanimous AP award winners in the NFL since 1970. This is the anonymous winners.
Unanimous.
The way that it's anonymous to me. So Parsons, he was anonymous, Mike, obviously in 21 with the defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Lamar in 19 with the MVP. JJ Watt, defensive player of the year in 14.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, MVP in 2010. Ben, offensive rookie of the year in 04. Anquan Bolden, offensive rookie of the year in 03. And finally, Mike, Marcus Allen, offensive rookie of the year in 82. That is the short list of unanimous players.
Wow.
Since 1970 in the NFL to win the AP award, Mike. Pretty small, but very impressive list. And again, all those names you see, I'm kind of happy to see Ben on there at the end of it because
exactly. Yeah. Because up until you can argue Jaden Daniels this year, that was the greatest rookie quarterback season ever.
Yeah.
From what Ben had. And you look at the teams he beat, Dallas, New England, Philly were the cream of the crop. And it wasn't because of the defense and the running game. He went out there and won those games by throwing the ball, keeping them off.
Early on, it was a lot of just don't make any mistakes. But as the season progresses,
that's when he got better and better. But everyone still, for the longest portion of Ben's career, that's all they thought he did was based on those handful, probably 5-6 games.
Yeah.
And then no, watch these games and watch him lead the comeback against Dallas and Philly that year. Yeah.
No 2 ways about it. He's one of the best.
And it's just surprising Aaron Donald wasn't one of the guys that you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
For how dominant he was.
Yeah. You got to be pretty great to get unanimous amount of votes, Mike, in these AP awards. College football, of course, the combine starting next week, I believe Thursday, goes through the weekend into the following week. Pitt's kicker, Ben Sauls, Mike, he's been getting picked in mock drafts. So whether he gets picked in the draft, which he probably is not going to, I think that's going to just bump his stock up, of course, come when it's time to sign undrafted free agents and people are going to look for kickers. I look for Ben Sauls. He's going to be tough in the NFL. Mike, keep an eye on Ben Sauls.
Wouldn't surprise me if a team takes a flyer on him in the 7th round.
All right,
6th, 7th round.
That's
usually
we go after kickers and punters.
Yeah.
Pitt basketball back at it today. They host Syracuse today at 7:00 p.m. Get down to Oakland to check out the game. That is Syracuse at Pitt today at 7 p.m. Let me just take a quick look. See here, Mike. All right, go ahead and tell everybody about. Let's jump on John here real quick. John says, "I wonder, did Ben not want a TV contract, or did TV not want a Ben contract?" I'm not real sure, John. Mike,
I'm gonna go with the TV. Probably didn't want Big Ben.
He didn't want a Ben.
That's what I was just gonna throw it out there.
Mike, why don't you give us the website?
the2dumyinzers.com. Check it out, everyone. The new blog post was up yesterday where I posted my mock draft and the reason why I drafted who I drafted, when and where, based on what was taken. So check it out, the2dumyinzers.com.
Oh, my nose. You know what? It's so cold outside. I just dread this every day. Every day. I can't wait. Mike. We got about a month till spring. My nose is running. It's been a disaster. What's it say on your thing there? 0 degrees is what it feels like here.
0 degrees is what it feels like. And let me tell you, it probably does feel like 0 degrees out there.
And somebody's going to jump on. Well, it's Pittsburgh. It's supposed to be cold.
Yeah.
No shit.
But it doesn't mean I can't bitch about it.
Shit. Guys, let's see the trivia of the day. Mike, this has got to do with Pittsburgh Steelers drafts. This is a Pittsburgh Steelers draft question of the day. Trivia question, if you will. Put on your thinking caps. Everybody on the board, everybody at home. Question of the day is a Steeler draft question. Question of the day sounds a little like this. Who was the last Steelers wide receiver the Steelers picked with their first overall pick in the first round? I'm looking for the last wide receiver the Steelers took with their first overall pick, but it had to be in the first round.
Okay.
Chase Claypool was the first pick, but they had him in the second round because of the trade.
That's
obviously not the answer. So the question plays out like this. Who was the Steelers' last wide receiver, or who was the last wide receiver the Steelers picked with their first overall pick in the first round? Take a minute to think that over. Guys, we're live 5 days a week right here, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every day on YouTube. All right, guys, question of the day. Who was the last wide receiver the Steelers picked with their first pick in the draft in the first round? Of course, 5 years or so ago, Chase Claypool was picked, but he was the first pick in the second round because of the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade, how that all played out. Guys, question of the day. Who was the last wide receiver the Steelers picked first in the first round? Mike, any thoughts on this?
Santonio Holmes.
Santonio Holmes. Interesting. What year was that? That was Bill Cowher's last pick.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Was it?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Couldn't have been.
Look it up. So the Steelers, Mike, you're saying Santonio, wait, who'd you say?
Santonio Holmes.
Oh, I thought you said Antonio Brown. Okay. Yeah. Question of the day is this. Who was the last wide receiver the Steelers picked first with their number 1 overall pick in the draft? Mike is saying Santonio Holmes. Randall L., over-enthusiastic intern Maud Caleb on the board is saying Antoine Randall L. We'll let it go for another minute or so, Mike, see if anybody else wants to throw any guesses up there. Who was the last wide receiver the Steelers picked with their first pick overall in the first round? Mike's saying Santonio Holmes. Over-enthusiastic Maud Caleb is saying Antoine Randall L. Chase Claypool would have actually technically been the last guy, but he didn't go till the second round because of the way the trade went for Minkah. Who was the last wide receiver the Steelers picked with their first pick overall in the draft in the first round? Mike, the answer is Santonio Holmes.
Boom! I know my Steeler wide receivers. You're right. It was it was his second year that they won the Super Bowl. I was like, no, he wasn't a rookie that year, and he made that catch. My bad. I got the years confused.
That's all good.
Yep.
So there you go. Santonio Holmes, guys, is the answer to the question. Chase Claypool, of course, was the first receiver we picked. And again, the significance of the question is because we are more than likely going to be taking a wide receiver early in the draft, whether it be round 1, round 2. I'm not quite sure yet. But, guys, the last time it happened was Santonio Holmes, last draft pick under Bill Cowher. And I remember because he called him San Antonio Holmes.
Yeah, everyone was calling him San Antonio.
I'll never forget that moment. So that is the correct answer, guys. Santonio Holmes.
Plexico and Troy Edwards back-to-back years. Yeah. It's very rare we take a receiver in the first round.
It's a need when it happens. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? The Steelers don't do
Yeah.
that. We don't build our teams that way, but when it's a need, we draft them. And you know what?
Yep.
We could build some wide receivers. Also, I do want to say go check out the Two Cranky Jagoffs, Jeff and
Yes.
Tim, every Friday night at 9:30. Brand new one coming up this weekend, but this past week it was a Sunday show. So if you go back and look through the episodes, it just happened on Sunday night. Go check out Tim and Finch over at the Two Cranky Jagoffs. Let's see here. Derpy, if he ever gets back here, we're going to award him. He keeps messing around. Mike, we're going to be eating Permane Brothers and sending
I
him
think
to
so.
pitch.
We'll eat it on air.
Yeah.
On a day he's here.
Have my dangerous running down my face.
That was a damn good sandwich, by the way.
Do they still make the dangerous, or is he?
I'm not sure. I don't know. They might have taken off the menu since he's not there anymore.
All right. Guys, my thing is this: 65 days until the draft, 165 days till camp, 200 days till week 1, 328 days till Super Bowl 60. Guys, it's getting there. It's getting there, but we got to start next week with the combine. The end of next week. After that, we'll look at the dates. I think free agency signings, all kind of fun stuff coming up. Over enthusiastic mod Caleb says a Whopper from BK. The year Holmes was drafted was $2.72. Oh, now over $7. And I love the Whopper, especially the double Whopper, man.
Oh, it's probably been a good 3 to 4 years since I've had a Whopper. I know it says body build by Whopper right here, but it's been that long since.
And it's everything. Whopper. You can't go anywhere. I tried to get 2 sandwiches one time, not that long ago. And then that'll be like $15. I thought, come on, $7, $8 for a sandwich. This is where we're at, man. Mike, so that is the everything that is to build up to. Again, 65 days till the draft. Anything before we do get ready to wrap things up, man?
65 days till the draft, man. That's easy. That's easy work right there. I got nothing.
And then after that, you figure we're right around the corner. It's going to be June, and then next thing you know, it's July. Then the guys are back to work in July. So
65 days, 7 hours, and 31 minutes until the draft.
There you go, guys. Everybody. I do want to say thank you to everybody for coming and hanging out and checking us out.
Yes.
We certainly appreciate each and every one of you. We truly, honestly do. We wouldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting. Thank you to our mod, over enthusiastic mod Caleb. New couple newcomers on the board today. I can't scroll through anything, so I can't mention them.
Water Boy.
The Water Boy was definitely a new name.
Yeah,
we might have seen him before.
I think Water Boy was here once or twice before. He dropped a little nugget every once in a while.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then
Yeah.
And then you erase somebody and it effed up the whole board.
Someone was fucking my shit up, and I fucked their shit up, and I fucked my shit up in the end. So they really won.
I'll let them go. We'll just we'll tear into them on the show.
Okay.
Just, right. Anything else, Mike? Anything else? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
I got nothing. I see you all tomorrow. I can't wait.
Everybody. Thank you so much, everybody. Once again, tomorrow we will be back. Tomorrow, Finch will be back with us as well. I'm pretty sure Derpy will be here on Thursday. I just I don't know. I'm gonna check on him today, Mike. I'll see how he's doing.
Yeah, see how the Derpster's doing.
But again, today, 7:00 Pitt. They host Syracuse. Thursday, Team USA versus Canada. I think the NBA gets they get back at it tomorrow night after their All-Star break. So things are finally starting to get back to it, guys. We're heading into the spring sports. Also, Mike, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, they take on Loudoun United FC today at noon. So the game started a half hour ago. Pittsburgh Riverhounds back at it today. Ryan's thinking that 70s prices for fast food. Yeah, man. I got to tell you, it's crazy. It's crazy what you got to pay. It's crazy what you got to pay in fast food anymore. Because I love fast food. I truly, really, truly, honestly love fast food. And, 2 days of eating fast food, it'll put a pretty big hole in your pocket, unfortunately. But, blah. All right, Mike, I think that's it, brother. Anything else?
I got nothing, man.
All right. For Mike in the Steelers Central Mobile Studio, myself, the two Dum Yinzers, and for Finch, we hope to see everybody back tomorrow. Ryan thinks Burger Chef is still around. You know what they do have up here? Up in Clarion, I'm sorry, over the colleges up north where Jim Kelly is from, they just opened a Fat Burger. They have a Fat Burger up in yeah, which is very oddly placed. I mean, mostly out west, California, all this kind of stuff. We do have a Fat Burger, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get up and try. I'm sure it's going to be expensive, but nonetheless, I always wanted to try a Fat Burger. So maybe sometime that'll be in the books. What's the best local fast food in Pittsburgh?
Oh,
you know what? Let me think on that.
Yeah.
Over enthusiastic mod Caleb. I'll put some thought into it. Tomorrow we will talk about that for sure.
Ooh.
He asked, what's the best local fast food in Pittsburgh? Very interesting question,
There we go.
actually.
Yeah,
and we will
have to think about that one.
Absolutely. Brian's a Super Bowl 43 MVP.
Oh, that should have went to Big Ben, though.
Yeah.
Or they should have split
Number 10.
Number 10. Time to be great. Time to be great. After that Super Bowl, every time he dropped an easy pass, I'd always yell at the TV, time to be great. Time to be great.
I loved him. I love that guy was a playmaker. They let the guy go way too soon.
Yep.
It was stupid. The guy, if he would have stayed here, he would have had a better career because he went on and sizzled out. And
I think we used the draft pick we got for him to get AB.
Yeah. I think that the San Antonio again, who knows? Tough to tell.
He was a beast.
Absolutely. The guy, every time he touched the ball, just like AB, you knew that there was a chance
never knew
something
what was
going to happen.
Yeah. Loved him.
All right. So everybody, for Mike, myself, the two Dum Yinzers, have a great Tuesday. We'll be back tomorrow at our regular time. I hope everybody